All right, go back to where we were. So while I was waiting for that last video to finish up, I went ahead and made a couple of changes here just to clean this code up a little bit. So I'm back in Object Controller on my creation code. And you can see here I just kind of cleaned little things up. I removed those messages, but you guys should pretty much have all this. The new thing is I did create asteroids. So I created 2 different asteroids. I put fixed X and Y positions just because I want to see how they look on the screen and make sure that they're being randomized. So let's run that. Right, so that should create 2 different asteroids. Boom, there they are. See, they have random sprites. If I do it again, it should be 2 different values. Or 2 different sprites. Let's see. Oh, see, they swap places. Do it a 3rd time for fun. Oh, that's not fun. Try it again. Try to see if I can get 2 of the same one. Oh, there you go. So you see how that is, right? Here's my shit. So these aren't very exciting asteroids yet. But as you can see, they are now random in their looks. Alright, so the next thing we need to do is get these asteroids moving. Oh, and I also want to place them in random positions. So how about this? Remove one of these, and right here, instead of making a variable and then putting it into the function, I was doing that just to kind of make it easier for you to see how it works. Let's do it like the hardcore way, right? I'm going to take this code for X, the random part, and I'm just going to put it directly in as a parameter. Same thing for Y. Directly put that in as a parameter. And I'll scoot this over a little. Now that looks a little complicated if you're not really good at coding, but hopefully you've seen what I've done. For the X value, I just put that random generation, and same thing for the Y value, and then object asteroid. So let's see what happens now. I should only have 1 asteroid, but it should be randomly placed. There you go, see that? Let's do another one. Boom. Cool, right? Now, let's say I wanted, 20 asteroids, right? Okay, so you could do this if you were, I don't know, you just wanted to really do this. You could, I could do that, right? Make a whole bunch of them. And there you go, right? Make a whole bunch of them like that. But that's really sloppy. That's really sloppy. It's tedious. I mean, just look at it. You don't want to read that. That's ugly. Like, look at that. So we're not going to do that. What we're going to do is actually use a loop. I'm going to show you how a for loop can be really awesome. So here's what I'm going to do. This is a for loop. I'll explain how it works. For. I'm going to make my loop like this. Okay, got opening bracket, closing bracket. There's going to be a bunch of stuff that goes in those parentheses. In the meantime, I'm going to cut this and paste it in there, because this is what's going to happen whenever this for loop runs. I'm going to make asteroids, right? Now let me explain what goes in here in a for loop. This is kind of like summation notation to a degree, if you have had that in Algebra 2 or in trig. But way cooler, because you can do so much more with it. So here's how, I'm just going to type in, I'll just explain it. Here's how it works. So I wish you didn't highlight that weird blue. I want to say for int I, while I is less than, say, 8, and then I'm going to increment. Now this is how it's done in Java. I'm assuming this would be okay in GameMaker. Let me check actually, because I had a loop here that worked before. Yeah, looks like it works just like Java. Good. So let me explain what's going on here, okay? there's 3 different sections to this parameter here for the for loop. There's this first one, and then see the colon here? That separates it. Then there's a middle portion, another colon, and then a last portion. Okay? This first portion is just I'm putting a variable in there. So I'm saying I'm going to call this variable integer, and I'm going to label it I. Okay, so this is integer I. That's all it is. Integer is a way of labeling what your variable is. I guess I've been kind of loose in game. Well, assignment operator expected. What's that all about? Does it not want me to do that? Oh, duh. Okay, never mind. We're actually not going to use the integer assignment. You'll see that in Java. I forgot Game Maker. You don't have to do that. But there we go. I get 0 while I is less than 8. What the heck's your problem now? Oh, and it doesn't like this notation either right here. All right. All right. There's some semantics, or not semantics. Some syntax differences with Java and Game Maker. Really similar, but slightly different. So I was just having some issues with that. In Java, you have to declare what types your variables are. In Game Maker, you don't, and apparently Game Maker doesn't like it. Also, the ++ I had is the same thing as I plus equals 1 in Java, but Game Maker doesn't like that either. On a side note, when you program, or if you get a computer science degree, you don't learn a specific language. You learn how programming works so that you can apply that logic to a multitude of languages. And that's kind of what I just did right there. Like, I know how loops work. It's just the syntax was off because it's GML, Game Maker language, instead of Java. So I can easily figure out how to fix that. And that's what you learn when you learn how to be a computer scientist, is how the code works with the computer, and so you can code and software engineer a bunch of programs in a variety of different languages. It's really cool. So let me explain this again. Okay, 3 sections here. These colons separate the 3 sections. First section, I'm making a variable. Variable is called I. Just standard for loops. I am throwing the value 0 into I. So I now has 0. This is a condition. It says while I is less than 8, continue on. Continue this loop. So right now I is 0, so therefore it qualifies. 0 is less than 8. So then I'm going to run what's inside the loop, and then this is kind of the finishing of my loop, and this is saying, hey, take I and increment it by 1. So I now is going to be 1. Then the loop is going to say, hey, 1 is less than 8, so now run this again. Increment 1. I now is going to be 2. 2 is less than 8, run this line again. See how this works? Now I is 3. 3 is less than 8, run it again. So basically I should get 8 asteroids, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. 8 will not be less than 8, so I won't get that one, but 0 to 7 is 8 different asteroids. So now I don't have to write all of that down there. I can just do this and get 8 asteroids. So boom, there you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and they're random. Though it seems like purple's kind of winning. Again, I'm just going to say this. I feel like I'm just kind of repeating myself, but I want you to understand this is important. You need to understand how loops work, how if statements work. You need to understand. So please don't just copy this down mindlessly and run it. Please understand how it's working, why it's doing this, because you're going to need to use this in your programs to do different things. If you don't understand how it's working, then you're not going to be able to do that. So I'm just throwing that out there. And if you need help with it, you know, come talk to me in the lab. I'm fine with it. You know, I'll help you out with it. I'll help walk you through it. It's really important that you understand this. So let's say I want to make more asteroids. Yeah, right here. Watch. Here's 50 asteroids. Let's see what 50 looks like. There. See? So you can see how quickly, how important a loop is, because it can quickly do a lot of things without, you know, there's only 3 lines of code, right? 1, 2, 3, lines 10 through 12. And with that, here I just made 500 asteroids. That'd be a lot of cutting and pasting otherwise. Let's see what 500 looks like. There you go. Asteroid City. Alright, now I gotta get these things moving. So I'm going to kind of lower this down to something a little more realistic. Let's say 5 for now. This might be the first level of your game. You don't want that many asteroids out there. But we got to get these things moving. So far, we're setting a random position for our ship, setting a random positions for some asteroids, and now we got to get those asteroids moving. So we'll come back to our asteroid object on creation, and we're going to get that sucker moving. Alright, so here is... I need to label my code. Random sprite. And here, I'm going to do some other things with my asteroid. So, let's see what I got here. Asteroid create. Alright, now... Okay, so I'm gonna have a rotation here. I don't know why I had that weird code, but I'm gonna get a random number for my rotation. Either it's gonna rotate to the right or it's gonna rotate to the left. So that's what that is. And here's a rotation angle. I think this is how fast it rotates. I'm not really sure what we're gonna do with that yet entirely until we go on with this, but we'll probably need that. And then I have an asteroid speed. Okay, so here's a random speed. So it'll give me a speed from 0 to 359. Oh, I'm sorry, direction. I'm sorry, direction. So this is going to be degrees. So it's going to give me a random direction. So 0 to 359, there's your 360 degrees. And then an asteroid speed. So I have anywhere from 0 to 4, plus 0.5. I'm going to make that plus 1. So that means the minimum speed the asteroid is going to be able to go is 1. Maximum speed will be 5. So that'll give you some nice speeds there for your asteroid. So these variables, and this is a way you can set up objects, these variables are created for each asteroid as it's created. And these variables are here, and now you can use them in other parts of your code, which I'll show you. Okay, so that's good. Now I'm going to add an event here. I'm going to add a step event. So now we're going to add some code that's going to be checked 30 times a second. It's all this weird Pink Floyd stuff. That's probably better. Okay. So now I need to do a step event. And what I'm going to do here is going to add a motion. Right there. So now, remember, asteroid direction, asteroid speed, that came from this code over here, right? Asteroid direction, asteroid speed, it randomly got generated on creation. And so now in my step event, notice I can use those variables here from my motion, right? So I'm going to add this motion, going to give it a direction and a speed. So right now, my asteroid should randomly just shoot off. Next thing. Gonna have this rotation. Remember, this is in a step. So if rotation angle equals 1, then I'm going to have a positive rotation, and if it's a 0, it's going to be a negative rotation. So my rotation angle was this one right here, right? And it's either going to be 0 or 1. So if it equals 1, it'll rotate to the right. If it doesn't equal 1, aka it was 0, then it's going to rotate to the left. See how that works?